Okay, let's unpack this. When we think about the next big leap in how we grow our food, our minds often jump to things like, massive tractors or complex chemical
But the
compounds.
heavy machinery, the chemistry.
But what if the real revolution isn't in bigger or more complicated tech, but in finding ways to work with nature, using science to understand its fundamental languages?
Yeah, instead of just imposing our will on the soil, what if we could actually communicate with it or with the plants?
Hmm.
Understanding things like the intricate world of soil microbes, but also maybe something as unexpected as sound or vibration.
Exactly. And that's where our deep dive starts today with a company called EndoDynamic. Their approach is really compelling because it blends time-tested, almost ancient ideas about working the land with some seriously cutting-edge technology.
Right. It's not about nostalgia, is it? It's a focused, modern effort to understand natural functions and interact with them on their own terms.
Totally. They're looking at how we can fundamentally change food growth using things like specific sound frequencies, vibrations, and advanced microbial solutions. It sounds like, well, pretty out there at first blush.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
But the sources suggest there's solid science behind it. It's a fascinating agricultural approach.
So today we're taking a deep dive into the information behind EndoDynamic's AG3 Advanced Agriculture System and their AGIST transport and storage solution.
Two big pieces.
And for you, our listener, if you're someone who loves getting a handle on complex ideas quickly, finding those aha moments without drowning in overwhelming detail,
Yeah, without feeling like you just read a textbook. You want the insights.
then this is going to be a really insightful journey. We're essentially exploring how technology can shift from being a tool to manipulate nature to being a genuine partner with it.
A partner with nature. I like that phrasing. Because if this works, I mean, it could potentially revolutionize everything from the quality of the food that lands on your plate to the long-term sustainability of agriculture globally. That's huge.
So, our mission today: unpack the core principles of AG3 and AGIST, reveal the science and the potential benefits, all while keeping it grounded and avoiding unnecessary technical jargon.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
Okay, let's unpack this first one. Their first major system is AG3, Advanced Agriculture to the Third Power. Sounds
But
powerful.
it does. And they describe it with a philosophy rooted in beginnings, using sounds, vibrations, music as an ancestral way of communicating with the natural world.
Which initially might make you picture someone playing Mozart to tomatoes, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But the sources clarified this is much more targeted. It's not just general background music.
Right. They highlight modern scientific exploration using technology to tune into specific frequencies. The idea is to interact with organisms at both microscopic and macroscopic levels.
So we're talking really small stuff, like microbes and bacteria in the soil,
Uh-huh.
all the way up to bigger systems, like how nutrients are absorbed, root development, how seedlings grow, the Brix level, that's the sugar content, crucial for things like fruit quality,
Got it.
and even the overall health of the entire vineyard ecosystem in their initial work.
And what's fascinating is that in their early research, these organisms actually showed measurable changes. They reacted.
Yeah, exactly.
Hmm.
Measurable changes in reactions when exposed to different vibrations. It's like the organisms were listening, in a way.
Wow. So they're essentially saying life, even at a tiny level, is responsive to these subtle energetic impulses. That's pretty fundamental.
That's the implication, yeah. It's like finding a language nature already understands, maybe one we've just forgotten how to speak.
Mhm.
And this wasn't just a hunch. They collaborated with university experts in agronomy for rigorous research to validate their observations.
Okay, so university validation, that's important.
Definitely. Which led to AG3, which they present as this surprisingly simple yet highly effective solution, adaptable for different sizes of farms, even, they say, home gardeners.
And a key component of AG3 is something called seedling harvest root 2 fruit.
Right. That's their patented microbial soil amendment.
Okay, so a soil additive, we've heard of those. What makes this one unique, according to them?
Its uniqueness, they claim, is that it's enhanced with specifically chosen bacteria and enzymes, not just a generic mix, but one selected for particular beneficial qualities,
Like what kind of qualities?
specifically for plant growth and, importantly, boosting that brick sugar content we mentioned. Think of it less like a general fertilizer and more like a super specialized probiotic for your soil.
That's a great analogy, a soil probiotic. And they call it a biomessenger, which has this intriguing ability to help elements that normally wouldn't work together cooperate. Is that right?
Right, that's how they frame it, like getting elements that might naturally repel each other to suddenly get along and work for the plant's benefit. And it functions both in the soil itself and in the atmospheric area around the plants.
Okay, let's break that down. At the soil level, what's it actually doing?
But down there, the AG-3 amendment encourages what they describe as patterning and energetics. It sounds a bit abstract, maybe?
A little bit, yeah.
But from the context, it seems to be about organizing the nutrients and the microbial activity in a way that optimizes how the plant digests, basically, how efficiently it takes up moisture and minerals.
Got it. Facilitating that nutrient exchange via enzymes working with microbes. Makes sense.
They also mention nitrogen fixation with symbiotic microbes, another crucial way to get vital nutrients into the plant. And they draw this distinction between nutrients in the soil, reactive minerals, and those from the atmosphere, mainly silica. The source suggests the amendment helps bridge that gap, somehow facilitating uptake from both.
Interesting distinction. Soil nutrients versus atmospheric ones. And above ground, what happens there?
Above ground, AG-3 is said to help boost cellular metabolic processes.
Like photosynthesis, the plant making its own energy from sunlight.
Exactly. And they point out that most visible plant growth, the cell division, mitosis, the blossoming, the fruiting, that all happens above ground. AG-3 is supposed to ensure those essential background processes are running smoothly and optimally, like keeping the factory humming.
Okay, now this is where it gets really fascinating and maybe a little mysterious. They have something called the plant chant stimulus.
Yeah, this is their trade secret, a copyrighted soundtrack designed specifically to stimulate plant growth and, as they put it, energetically accelerate it. A soundtrack for plants.
It sounds wild, doesn't it? But they describe it almost like instructions.
Yeah, like a conductor leading an orchestra, coordinating all the different biological elements of the microbes, the cellular processes, getting them to work together in harmony for maximum growth.
Okay, so how does this plant orchestra music actually get delivered out in the field? You can't just set up speakers, can you?
Well, kinda. They've developed the Sonic Max system. Picture these wireless sound units spread across the field, maybe in a honeycomb pattern for even coverage.
Wireless, waterproof, solar-powered. Sounds pretty robust for farm conditions.
Yeah, exactly. And they use long-range private broadcast connectivity, so they can deliver the right soundtrack exactly when and where it's needed across the whole area.
Which implies that different plants might need different tunes. Or maybe different stages of growth.
Seems very likely. The sources mention users getting access to a library of these soundtracks, suggesting different species or different growth stages might respond best to specific frequencies or patterns. It's about tailoring the instructions.
Right, so by playing the soundtrack at specific times day, seasons, they're providing this constant vibrational information, almost like a continuous positive reinforcement for growth.
That's the idea. Encouraging the microbial life and the plants themselves to thrive, perform their biological processes more efficiently, and apparently it also helps trigger the plant's natural defense systems against pests or disease. Interesting side benefit.
Okay, so AG-3 has the soil amendment, the plant chant soundtrack, and the Sonic Max delivery system. What else is part of the package?
There's the cross-fuser. This works together with the Sonic Max and the soil amendment. It's presented as a simple, user-friendly shipping and maybe application solution, perhaps aimed more at smaller farms or home gardeners initially.
And they mention a hybrid cross-fuser. That sounds more complex.
Yeah, that one sounds more advanced. It's described as a trade secret, patent-pending water conditioning system. Uses a combination of technologies.
The goal being what?
Saving water, removing harmful elements from the water, and structuring and blending nutrients for better hydration and overall crop health.
Water structuring. Okay, that's another one of those intriguing concepts. How does the source describe that? What are they doing to the water?
They describe creating vortex-like flows, passing the water through specific shapes before it's delivered to the plants. The underlying idea, it seems, is that this changes how the water molecules are arranged or clustered together.
To make it flow easier or be absorbed better by the plant.
That's the claim. Specifically, improving nutrient transport into the plant and enhancing water absorption. They say it mimics natural water cycles, like how water behaves when flowing freely in a stream.
Okay, and they have improved models of this. Crossviews are focused on efficient filtration and optimizing the coverage to volume ratio to cut water waste. So efficiency is key there too.
Seems like it. Always circling back to efficiency and working with natural processes.
Now let's talk results. They break down the application of AG-3 into phases, right? How does that work?
They do. Phase I is the first year, and the main focus is amending the existing soil. A key point they stress is the really rapid impact within just weeks.
Weeks? That seems incredibly fast for significant soil changes.
Yeah, I thought so too, but they claim within weeks, the amendment starts breaking down accumulated salt barriers in the soil. This could be huge, especially in areas with irrigation issues or poor drainage where salts build up,
Right. Why is breaking down those salt barriers so important?
because it lets previously applied chemical fertilizers, stuff that might have been trapped, bound up by salts, and essentially useless to the plants, finally filter down and actually benefit the plants, get unlocked.
Ah, okay. So you get value from past inputs.
Exactly. And at the same time, the beneficial microbes in the AG3 amendment start making previously unavailable nutrients in the soil accessible to the plant roots.
Okay, so it's unlocking potential that was already locked up in the soil. What about phase two, year two and beyond?
That involves ongoing soil amendment, adding specific enzymes, more beneficial microbes, really enhancing fertility and optimizing that water and nutrient balance for the plants over time. It's presented as a continuous improvement process for the soil health.
And the long-term goal they mention, organic certification. That's a big one.
Yeah, that's a pretty compelling claim. They suggest that by the fifth year of using AG3 consistently, farmers could potentially achieve organic certification because the old chemical fertilizers would have been processed, flushed out, or broken down by then.
That timeline allows for a more natural transition, maybe, rather than a really disruptive switch.
Possibly. And throughout this period, they expect noticeable improvements in both the quality and quantity of the harvest, backed by ongoing scientific tests and lab tracking they mentioned.
Now, they make a big claim about costs. This is always critical for farmers.
They do. Claiming overall farming costs could be cut by as much as half compared to traditional fertilization methods.
Half. That's not just significant, that's potentially transformative for a farmer's bottom line if it pans out.
Absolutely.
Right.
And they pair that with yield increases, an average of at least 30% yield increase in the early years, with potentially even more over the 5 years as the soil health compounds and improves.
So that 3 to 5 year path to organic is framed not just as environmentally friendly, but also as a more natural and affordable route compared to other organic transition methods, potentially more cost-effective.
That seems to be the pitch.
And they keep stressing that initial impact. The salt barrier breaking down quickly within 2 weeks, making those trapped fertilizers available fast. It's like getting a quick return on old investments you'd written off.
Yeah, that rapid effect seems key to their initial value proposition. Financially, they also highlight a low initial cost for the AG3 package compared to the ongoing expense of traditional fertilizers year after year. Everything needed, instructions, digital resources included, they say.
And the dilution rate for the amendment plays a big role in that cost saving, right? That must be a factor.
Absolutely key. They mentioned a 25-to-1 dilution rate for their amendment, which they claim is significantly better than, say, an 8-to-1 maximum for some chemical amendments. That high dilution rate is a big part of how they calculate those potential cost reductions, possibly up to 60% over time.
Wow, 25 to 1 is very concentrated. Now, this next part is a really unique angle. They specifically designed AG3 with Africa in mind.
Yes, the African agricultural context was a major consideration in its development. They drew inspiration, they say, from traditional African farming practices that work with nature and what they describe as an ancestral understanding of chanting to the elements.
Wow. So they're explicitly looking at traditional knowledge, even spiritual practices perhaps, and seeing how they might connect with modern science. That's fascinating.
Precisely. It highlights this perspective that traditional ecological knowledge holds valuable insights that modern science can explore and maybe even validate or build upon. It's not just looking back dismissively, it's recognizing the potential wisdom embedded in established, often intuitive, approaches. Makes sense.
And they acknowledge the significant challenges in Africa, things like infrastructure deficits or organizational issues.
Yeah, they recognize those potential roadblocks, but their aim seems to be creating what they believe will be a truly transformative solution, a potential game changer for the continent's agriculture and economy.
And they make a specific point about women farmers being central.
They do, noting that a significant majority, around 80% of African farms, are farmed by women. This suggests accessibility and user-friendliness were likely major design considerations if they want widespread adoption.
So how do they plan to handle distribution and training in those regions? That's always a hurdle.
Well, they designed it for efficient local distribution facilities for on-site dilution within countries. Local experts are planned to provide seminars and training, really helping farmers implement it effectively and understand the benefits on the ground. Capacity building seems part of it.
And while developed with Africa in mind, it's not only for Africa.
No, they are very clear on that. They say it's made in America, but tested extensively in Africa and countries around the world. Global application.
And they have a powerful testimonial from Kenya, don't they?
Yeah, from Leonard Kariuki, the former Minister of Agriculture of Kenya. He tested AG3 on coffee beans and other local crops, and his quote is pretty strong. Finest I've ever tested, outperformed top organic microbial products, and easy protocol to follow.
That's quite an endorsement, especially from someone with that background and credibility. Testing on coffee beans is specific, suggests adaptability to different high-value cash crops.
Definitely carries weight. And they also mentioned direct meetings with governments in Kenya, Zimbabwe, Uganda, Nigeria, Eastern Africa. So they seem quite serious about pursuing larger-scale implementation plans.
Seems so from the sources, yeah. And the research journey itself sounds interesting. From Mexico to Texas, where did this develop?
Right. Early work apparently in Guadalajara, Mexico. Then their lab in the Woodlands, Texas, where PhDs and agronomy experts are continuing to discover more about how these frequencies impact nutrient delivery and plant hydration. It underscores the ongoing science, they say, backs this up.
And they connected to some pretty fundamental physics, mentioning Tesla and Einstein. How does that fit in?
Yeah, referencing Tesla's idea that everything in nature has a frequency or energy, and Einstein confirming that everything is energy at its core.
Okay, and how do they apply that?
They explain they use light and sound frequencies to manage dormancy in microorganisms, enhance colonization, their compatibility at a cellular level. It's like influencing biological rhythms microscopically using these energy principles.
Connecting it to fundamental physics as another layer, doesn't it? The idea that frequencies can influence biological processes at that tiny level opens up a lot of possibilities if proven widely and reliably.
Definitely. And they highlight the long road from those early vineyard experiments, apparently back in Redwood Valley, California, to a planned 2025 launch. From those vineyards to Kenyan coffee farms, it's been a journey.
And the core secret they point to is their ability to harness the power of frequencies and its effects on plants and agriculture. That's what they consider their key trade secret.
Makes sense. That's the novel part.
And there's another specific testimonial mentioned from Graziano Vineyards, back in California.
Yes. Tom Barrett Sr., manager there, reports yield increases up to 30% and Brix increases up to 25% in initial trials. He apparently was skeptical, didn't believe it initially, until independent testing confirmed the results.
Wow. Graziano is a significant name in the wine world. Those are big jumps in both yield and sugar content, which is directly related to wine quality. That speaks volumes, especially coming from an established vineyard.
It does. A strong data point from the field.
So they list the AG3 benefits again. Easy application, nature-focused ingredients, science meets nature, affiliate program, good for big, small farms, potential 60% savings, those results with water, light, vibration, Brix enhancement. And they mentioned patented modular containers for storage and transport.
Ah, the containers. That leads us nicely into their second major innovation, AG-IST, doesn't it?
Absolutely. Though they do briefly mention a country master distributor opportunity first. If you're interested in partnering with them, contact info provided in the source.
Right. And they position AG3 as this holistic approach, aiming to be the ultimate solution for global agriculture and a healthier tomorrow. It's a very big vision they're painting.
Okay. So shifting gears completely now. AG-IST, the agricultural intermodal stackable transport system. This sounds like it tackles a whole different problem set, moving things after the harvest. Logistics.
Yes, completely different side of the agricultural process.
Yeah.
AG-IST is presented as a groundbreaking system for transport and storage. It's got U.S. patent protection already from 2016, they mentioned, with international patents pending.
And the core problem it solves. What's wrong with current methods?
Mainly, waste in cost and bulk transport. Things like broken bags, spilled materials from traditional plastic sacks, the hassle and expense of conventional material handling systems like pneumatic blowers. They're targeting high-volume, dry, bulk goods primarily.
Okay. So what's innovative about the design of these AG-IST containers?
They highlight several features: an interlocking gravity feed mechanism, interchangeable delivery chambers for different materials, multiple pickup points for flexibility, retractable pad eyes for easy lifting, and a strong truss-style frame. Built for toughness and efficient handling, it sounds like.
And the stackability sounds key for logistics and space saving.
Definitely. AG-IST units can interlock and stack up to 4 high on a standard flatbed rail car. This directly tackles minimizing handling steps and reducing waste during transport by avoiding the need to rebag or transfer materials as often. The gravity feed is designed for efficient loading and unloading directly from the stacked unit.
Okay. And who are they targeting with this system? Which industries?
Primarily the energy and agricultural sectors. It seems like an obvious fit given the need for efficient bulk material transport in both industries, the grain, seeds, fertilizers, but also things like proppant sands used in energy.
What else makes AGIST unique? They mentioned something about the discharge system.
Yeah, they say it's the only container with a mechanical discharge system, meaning you don't need separate pneumatic equipment, those big noisy air blowers, to unload it.
And that's better for delicate materials. Less damage.
Precisely. It uses an advanced Venturi system for discharge.
Venturi, like creating suction with fluid flow. I think I remember that from physics.
Exactly.
Right.
It creates a gentle, controlled discharge flow. The sources say this is perfect for sensitive stuff like grain, soy, coffee beans, minimizing damage compared to harsh forced air systems that can break kernels of beans.
And it's versatile, like a portable silo. They use that term.
Yes, they describe it as a portable transload system. It can function as a temporary silo, deployable at transload sites, warehouses, even industrial sites like petroleum drill sites. It meets international shipping and ISO standards. And the intermodal part means easy transfer between trucks, trains, and ships without unpacking the contents.
Okay. But it's not just about moving goods efficiently, is it? They mentioned keeping food fresh, too. How does that fit in?
Right. This is another layer of innovation they're adding. They secured a licensing agreement for some trade secret technology designed specifically to extend the freshness of perishable goods within the AGIST container itself. This seems like a major add-on to the core AGIST patents.
So they're building a whole suite of integrated solutions, from growing the crop with AG3 to transporting it fresh with AGIST.
Looks like it. They talk about marketing and sublicensing the whole package.
Mm.
The AGIST system itself, that indigenous circadian stimulus for plant hydration, which sounds related to the frequency work in AG3, may be applied differently, and the root fruit nutribalance enhancer. It's a system.
And it gets even more high-tech with the freshness aspect, nanotechnology, in a shipping container.
Yeah, that's what they claim. Using nanotechnology to create what they describe as an energetic environment around or perhaps inside the AGIST containers.
An energetic environment using nanotech to do what exactly?
The claim is to extend the freshness of perishable goods significantly and critically without using harmful chemicals like fungicides or preservatives. They mention studies showing a much longer shelf life, although the details of the mechanism beyond nanotechnology and energetic environment aren't really elaborated in the sources provided.
Nanotech in a shipping container for freshness, that's pretty advanced if it works reliably at scale. Reducing food waste in the supply chain like that would be absolutely huge. Game-changing, even.
Massive potential impact on global food distribution, reducing spoilage and loss. Absolutely massive.
And they see AGIST linking up with their other tech, like that efficient irrigation system?
Yes, they explicitly state it's designed to pair seamlessly with something they call the Indigenous Circadian Stimulus Waterless Irrigation System. Now, that name is a bit confusing, waterless irrigation system. Reading between the lines, it seems to refer to the technology that mimics redwood forest for optimal hydration and sustainability, perhaps meaning highly efficient water use, near waterless in its savings, rather than literally zero water.
Okay, so highly efficient hydration mimicking natural systems. That makes more sense in context. So the big picture is this integrated system from farm to, well, maybe not fork, but further down the chain.
Totally. The goal seems to be maximizing output from the seedling all the way through delivery to market, cutting irrigation costs, reducing reliance on chemicals during growth with AG3, cutting waste during transport with AGIST, resulting in healthier crops and contributing to a more sustainable future. That's the narrative.
They quickly recap those related elements again. The indigenous circadian stimulus enhancing hydration like redwoods, and the root fruit nutribalance as a natural growth enhancer for strong roots.
It all ties back to that holistic view, doesn't it? Agriculture seen as an interconnected system where efficiencies and health in one area positively impact others. And extending freshness with AGIST just adds more value and reduces loss at the end of the chain.
They use some buzzwords for AGIST too. Smarter logistics and translock, which sounds like a specific feature of their interlocking container system, maybe.
And they really hammer home the patent details again for AGIST. U.S. patent awarded August 30th, 2016. They give the number. International efforts ongoing. Protecting their innovation is obviously crucial for a company built on novel tech like this, obviously.
Absolutely. Okay, so we've looked closely at the AG3 growth system and the AGIST transport system. Let's step back now and look at the company itself, EndoDynamic. What's driving them? What's their stated mission?
Their core mission seems pretty clear. Revolutionize farming, using innovative tech to boost soil health, use water efficiently, encourage natural growth cycles, all with the ultimate goal of a sustainable agricultural future.
And they're driven by the big global challenges we hear about constantly. Climate change, resource scarcity.
Yeah, they explicitly mention those, plus population growth, as the key drivers behind developing these solutions. They see an urgent need for change in how we produce food.
And their focus is primarily B2B, business to business, selling to other companies.
Yes, commercial farmers, agribusinesses, distributors seem to be the main targets, both in the U.S. and in developing countries. They stress that they're offering tailored solutions for different needs and scales of operation.
And their flagship products, to quickly recap.
AG-3, the microbial soil amendment and frequency system for vitality and growth, and AG-IST, the innovative transport system for cutting waste and careful handling, with that added freshness tech. Those are the big two.
Okay. And it's interesting, they mentioned aligning with the Make America Healthy Again initiative. What's the connection there? How does farming tech tie into that?
It suggests a broader vision, linking their agricultural work directly to public health and well-being. The idea that healthy soil leads to healthy, more nutritious food, which in turn contributes to healthier people.
Yeah.
It positions their work as contributing positively to national wellness goals. Got it.
Makes sense. They also put out a call to investors in the source material, didn't they?
They do, highlighting the chance to invest in these technologies and contribute to that healthier future they envision. This definitely suggests they are in a growth phase, actively looking for capital to scale up production, marketing, and distribution.
Seems likely, especially with a planned 2025 launch mentioned for AG-3. It shows confidence in their tech's potential, wanting to bring it to market. And they really stress their connection to farmers understanding the day-to-day challenges.
Yes, they emphasize a deep-rooted passion for the land and understanding what farmers face. That connection matters hugely in agriculture, doesn't it? It helps build trust and credibility, suggesting they aim to be more than just a vendor, perhaps a partner.
Huge factor. Builds trust. Suggests more than just business, their ultimate goal being regenerative agriculture. What does that mean in this context? How do they define it?
Regenerative agriculture, as they seem to use it, goes beyond just sustaining current practices. It's about farming methods that actively improve the environment. Things like building soil health and organic matter, boosting biodiversity on the farm, potentially even capturing carbon from the atmosphere. The idea is it benefits the farmer through more resilient soil, the consumer through potentially more nutritious food, and the earth itself. A whole system approach. Okay.
So how do they see themselves fitting into the wider market? What's their analysis of the current landscape?
Well, they clearly see the growing demand for sustainability. Consumers are demanding it, regulations are pushing for it, and many farmers are recognizing the long-term economic and ecological benefits. Plus, there's a much deeper scientific understanding now of how vital healthy soil is for resilient, productive farming, especially with climate change impacts.
And they position themselves right in the middle of that shift with their tech, offering solutions for those demands.
Exactly. They see themselves as part of the technological transformation happening in agriculture, offering innovative solutions that meet these converging demands for productivity and sustainability. Right place, right time, they argue.
Who are they targeting again? Just to be clear.
Commercial farmers, agribusinesses, distributors, they keep emphasizing that their products are designed specifically for the needs and challenges faced by those players in the agricultural value chain, addressing costs, yields, handling, waste, and sustainability goals.
And they do acknowledge some weaknesses, which is interesting, being new, relying heavily on patents.
Yeah, they mentioned being a new market entrant and the inherent dependence on their patents for protection against copycats. But they quickly pivot to stressing their commitment to proving value on the ground through real-world results and farmer testimonials. That transparency is good, right? Builds credibility.
Agreed. Acknowledging limitations while focusing on demonstrating benefits builds confidence, I think, and opportunities for growth. Where do they see the big potential?
Big ones listed are expansion into developing countries, particularly leveraging that initial focus on Africa and forming strategic partnerships with established players in the agribusiness world. Makes sense. Leverage existing networks and expertise to scale faster.
Exactly. And tailoring solutions for those diverse regional needs will be key.
And their key strength. They obviously point to the innovative tech itself.
Obviously. Those patent-pending solutions, they argue, are at the cutting edge of agricultural technology. Continuous innovation seems vital to their strategy to stay ahead.
And the timing. They argue the timing is perfect for this kind of solution.
Yes, aligning with this global shift towards sustainable and resilient agriculture gives them a potentially receptive audience and maybe a strong tailwind from market trends and policy shifts.
But they also see threats naturally. Standard business risks. Sure, competition from established agricultural giants, navigating complex regulations in different countries, and potential economic downturns affecting farmer investment are all standard business risks they acknowledge. Good they acknowledge them allows planning.
Agreed. And their value proposition isn't just selling stuff, it's framed differently.
No, they frame it as being a partner in helping farmers create a healthier future, boosting productivity and profitability while minimizing environmental impact and waste. It's positioned as a win-win for the farmer and the planet.
That partnership approach resonates in farming communities, doesn't it?
Really can. Focusing on shared benefits, long-term relationships built on trust and results, especially when introducing significantly new technology. That could be a key differentiator if they execute it well.
And their branding reflects this. Innovative, reliable, eco-friendly, forward-thinking.
Yeah, those are the qualities they want associated with their brand, aiming to match that growing demand for effective and sustainable solutions in agriculture.
And how do they plan to reach these commercial customers? What's the marketing strategy look like?
Looks like a pretty comprehensive multi-channel approach. Digital marketing, SEO, social media content, presence at major agricultural trade shows and conferences, strategic partnerships, a dedicated direct sales team, developing distributor relationships, and potentially even online sales channels. Covering a lot of bases there, necessary for the diverse ag sector probably, reaching everyone from early tech adopters to more traditional farms needing strong evidence.
And their sales strategy focuses on direct engagement, building those relationships we talked about.
Yes, often key in agriculture. That personalized approach helps build confidence in new tech that might seem complex or unproven initially.
And the rollout plan. Sounds like a phased entry.
Details suggest starting in key U.S. agricultural states, then expanding strategically to developing countries, particularly focusing on Africa based on their design philosophy. This rollout will be backed by marketing campaigns focused on building awareness, educating potential users, and sharing those real-world testimonials and data. Sounds structured, makes sense, allows for learning and refining as they go, minimizes risk, and maximizes chances of success in new markets. Exactly.
Okay, financials briefly. Revenue streams, where's the money coming from?
Primarily product sales, it seems, selling the AG-3 amendment system and the AG-IST containers. But they also mentioned potentially offering subscription or leasing services, maybe for the AG-IST system or the software sound library access, which could provide recurring revenue, diversifying income.
And costs, where are they investing the capital they're raising?
The usual suspects for a tech company scaling up, ongoing R&D to maintain that innovative edge, significant marketing and sales efforts to build market share, and ensuring efficient operations and supply chains as they grow. Strategic allocation across those areas is vital for success.
And they loop back to that MAHA initiative again right at the end of the source material. Make America healthy again.
Yeah, reiterating the connection. Healthy food choices stemming from sustainable agriculture contribute to a healthier population overall. It reinforces their broader purpose and perhaps widens their appeal beyond just the farming sector. Yeah.
And a final call to potential partners wraps it up.
Yep, an invitation to connect and collaborate if you share their vision for transforming agriculture and promoting a healthier America and presumably a healthier world.
Right.
A call to action.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what are the big takeaways that really stand out for you from all this information on EndoDynamic?
Well, for me, the most compelling thing is how they're attempting to bridge what seem like incredibly disparate fields. You've got ancient agricultural wisdom, that idea of chanting to the elements, working with nature cycles, and they're looking at it through the lens of modern science. Specific frequencies, the complex world of soil microbiology, even nanotechnology. AG-3 is a fascinating attempt to maybe communicate with nature on its own terms, using sound and biology to boost growth and soil health.
And then AG-IST, which seems completely different at first, tackling the nuts and bolts of getting food from field to market, but again, using smart engineering and even that high-tech nanocoating to cut waste and maintain quality.
Exactly. It's like they're looking at the whole picture, from the seed in the ground right through to transport, the entire life cycle, not just one isolated problem. Precisely.
And both AG-3 and AG-IST, despite their different applications, seem to share that core theme, combining scientific innovation with a real respect for how nature actually works. It's not about forcing things or just relying on stronger chemicals, but about understanding and working with natural systems for practices that are potentially more sustainable and maybe even more efficient in the long run.
And the potential impact, if these claims about yields, cost savings, and environmental benefits hold up, seems huge, potentially very significant for how we farm and distribute food.
So for you, our listener, maybe something to think about is this. How interconnected are our food systems really? From the tiniest microbe in the soil to the global logistics network.
Yeah, and consider that and think about the surprising ways that fields you wouldn't normally connect, like sound engineering and soil science or nanotechnology and shipping logistics, but actually come together to shape what we eat and how it gets to us in the future. It's quite thought-provoking.
What other unexpected intersections like that, maybe outside of agriculture, might hold keys to solving some of these big global challenges we're facing? Where else could seemingly unrelated ideas spark innovation?
That's a great point. This whole exploration really shows that innovation can come from looking at old problems in completely new ways, and especially by spotting connections between things that seem totally unrelated at first glance, thinking outside the usual boxes.
The journey of endodynamic itself, from that little vineyard experimenting with frequencies, according to the story, to potentially impacting global farming and logistics, is a pretty powerful example of that kind of cross-disciplinary thinking in action.
A really thought-provoking case study. It definitely feels like we're only just